Hey everybody, in this video I just wanted to explain my Sansbury templates so that you can use this essentially with any customer or any client that you have an opportunity for, or use it internally for yourself. It's just a research agent, and so there's two parts to this. If we look at the Sansbury research agent, which is the back end, the use case, I've explained this earlier in other videos, but I'll quickly go through this again because this is for the template. And the use case is this is a grocery store in the UK, and they have Tesco, Asda and Morrison's that they are competitors to and or with. And I've set up an RSS feed to get the information. I've included in this download section this spreadsheet in Excel format, so you can import it into Google Sheets as an Excel document, import it or whatever. The point is, this doesn't have to be Sansbury. This should be any research that you want. I've already showed this again in another Google video, so Google. So if we go to Google Alerts, you can set alerts on anything. You can set alerts on, I don't know, so we'll just do my last name, right? And so there's no news for н8н, but let's just do news on н8н, right? So we'll get a bunch of great news on н8н, and then what you can do is you can come down to show the options, and instead of delivering it to an email, you deliver it to an RSS feed, and that's how you set it up. And so this is done, and then when you set it up to an RSS feed, it will look like this. You'll click on the RSS feed to get the feed, and then lo and behold, you can click on this. Now there's a lot of other configurable information that you can do with this. So for example, if we configure this, you can limit it to these types of articles or sources. You can set the language, you can set lots of different regions. You only want the best results, or do you want all results? I always leave it on only best, and then we deliver it always to an RSS feed. So the point is that's set up. You'll have to go do that. You've got the spreadsheet, you've got my code that will take it all apart. This is all rest of it logical. This is the other code. Now, all of these, Tesco and ADSA, these are for everybody that you want to do research on, okay? And so basically, there's some code in here that makes sure that you don't create duplicate articles if you've already got it. At the very, very bottom, I have a rolling 1-week pruning because this does pick up a lot of data for this competitive analysis. Yours might not be so bad. Maybe you'll want to do a month. But the point is, once you start getting about 250 rows or more of data in there, the large language model, when you're chatting with it, which is the second one, okay? I have another download called this, that's this chat UI here, right? But the model behind it, that isn't also in н8н is this. And so when it tries to use or read, you're basically having a conversation with that data, and you can look at the prompts and all this other stuff and figure out all of this other information. And so this is going to be really helpful for you to reverse engineer this and do a bunch of other stuff. And you get to see how I do all of these different types of cool tools and information. And you hope that I'm providing it so you can reverse engineer it. It's a pretty complicated one. So I just wanted to give a little framing and context. I'm not going to go over it in too much detail because by now you should be using н8н. You should be knowing some of these nodes. And I wanted to provide more context of how these nodes go together in a real world use case. So as time goes by, I'll continuously add more resource and or templates, and we'll add extra value to the course this way. All right, that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, welcome back. I just want to briefly explain the context for my consulting lead gen form. And so it's leveraging a jot form. I've got an Airtable. I'm doing some really unique stuff here as far as taking data, parsing data, and then inserting all of this back into a Google Sheet. I am using a really cool library called Mermaid in the code of all of this, and I had to do some really fancy stuff. So this is a good use case of where you're using traditional tools and some really advanced stuff like script and programming, doing some pretty crazy advanced stuff here with base64 and encoding it according to a Paco library. And so you'll see that I'm having to install several different components and pieces here. Now this is running on the н8н host machine, so there has to be libraries and stuff on the machine to support this stuff as н8н tries to run Python code within the context of the machine that's hosting н8н. All right, so as long as you know how to write and deal with Python code, then you're good to go. This language is Python, by the way. It is in beta. You could write in JavaScript, but I wanted to give you a full use case while a simple looking flow, and it is fairly simple from how many nodes there is. There is some pretty crazy advanced stuff going on this one, so I wanted to make you aware of what this is and how this works. I can't give you access to my jot form for obvious reasons, so you'll have to go and create your own, and I think you have a free trial. You can use it with that. In any event, it looks like this, and then it dumps all that data into this user base, so you'll have to set up an Airbase. This is also free, so you should be able to set up free accounts and still get all of this stuff working for you. But let me show you the end-to-end user experience for this. I'll go back to the jot form, and I'll go into publish, and I'll copy the link, and let's copy this out. And more importantly, let's come over here to execution so we can watch and see if or when this runs. I don't need this. We can leave this. I'll put that over here, and then let's go in and fill out the form. So this is what the form looks like on JotForm. And JotForm has a couple different unique things. JotForm can post to a webhook, but н8н also supports JotForm, so it can detect when events happen. So I don't have to use I don't have to use JotForm to post to the webhook. But if you were using something like Zapier and not н8н, then you would have to use JotForm to then post to their webhook because they don't integrate back into. So this is really nice the way that this is. So I'll just go ahead and I'll fill out some random information here that I've got cached. I'll send this over to this email address. What am I working on this week that's important this year? Let's see here. I have some other stuff that I've got going on here. All right, in any event, let me just show you what this looks like. So a couple different things. And actually, let me go ahead and do it again. Let's generate some random data for this, okay? So I need to answer a question of what is important that I am working on this year. I'm filling this out from the perspective of a business owner or a C-level executive. Give me a very short blurb about something that they might answer. Again, not very long, maybe 2-3 sentences at most. And so I'll just grab this and I'll keep the conversational thread because I'll just use this. So this will present like some randomness that will show you something pretty cool. And what are you focusing on the next 90 days? Okay. Now I have a second question that says, what am I working on in the next 90 days that's critical or important? Somehow tie it into what you previously gave me so I get another answer. And also keep it short, just like you did last time. So I'm generating all this synthetic data with AI. And then finally, I'll just go copy and paste this in. And that's the final question that I need to answer. Again, keep it in scope and keep it short. And now I have that. Whoops. Yep. And now we have that, and then they submit it. And then after that, it gives you a thank you. We pop over into н8н. We should see this pickup that it's running soon. And there it goes. And it's picked it up. It's detected that there's a new form. And now I'm going to get a couple of emails. So let me check my emails to see what's going on here. I have the first email. Oh, don't need that. I got this. Okay, so here's one email. And here's the email that just came in. So this is the experience from the end user, okay? So that end user basically gets this big email here. Let me minimize this and we'll open this up. And so what happens is, based on the conversation, it's 3 simple questions, but this mails them this, and so it gives them not only a graphical representation about what they should be focusing on in a year, how to break it down, I give recommendation. Now all of this I programmed to have AI to do. So this is why this is yet simple, yet super complicated. And then the email just came in that I get from JotForm that lets me know that somebody filled out the questionnaire. So I have this information, right? And so as David Soden, I get to see this. And so this lets me know that they've answered it. Now, this is what the end user receives. This is what Arthur receives, and it's addressed as such. And then I tell them the next step, and I said, let's continue the conversation. They can jump on my calendar. I put a picture in there, and then I can also get my personal information so they can reach out to me to have further conversations. And then, of course, this all is being logged in the back end by this database, so I have copies of it. And if I want to go see that the chart, so when I have a conversation with them about what's going on, I have the ability to then use this and walk through this in my conversation. And it's really great as a conversation starter. And usually people aren't as verbose in their filling out of that form as the AI was generating the synthetic data, which means you get a much simpler response or graphic that comes back. So, but that's kind of the magic of all of this. I'm using a library that's open source called Mermaid, and it's essentially code as a diagram. And it's really cool. So if you've not used Mermaid, you can go ahead and check Mermaid out at mermaid.io, I believe. If I go back into the email where this was that came in, they can edit this process in the browser, and it looks like this. So here is the code that it writes, and this is the output of that code. It's really, really, really cool. And so now you get to see what they're focusing on in the year and all of the different stuff. And so this is in their email. They can go in there, and this is like really, really, really cool stuff. So anyway, I included that in the course, again, for free so that you can tear this apart and, you know, use it in really cool and interesting ways. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next video. Hey everybody, I included the demo database that I was using here. It's lab. Now, mostly I used, I think, the following tables. There's extra tables that are going to come along for the ride. But I did DBO customers. There's some HP customers. There's a bunch of extra tables. So there's customers, and then there's inventories, orders, vendors. There's a bunch of stuff in here. So use this to play with н8н, including every time you saw me pull out a SQL node, I was using this database. So what I wanted to do was to back up this database, and you can then restore this in SQL Server for yourself. Now, you can get the community edition of SQL Server, and you just go up to SQL Server Community Edition, download it. This one, I don't know what version this is. It says 16, but I think it's really 21 or something like that. Anyway, just go up to Microsoft.com. Here, let's do this. SQL. Microsoft SQL Community. No, good Lord. Microsoft SQL Server Community Edition. Download. SQL Express. Maybe it's called SQL Express. How do I download the free version of SQL Server? Okay, this looks good. All right, I'm going to take this link and I'm going to put it in the video so you'll have that. So in any event, you'll go here, you'll do this on premises. You'll want this Express version, which is a little bit better than a developer, or you can do either one. But anyway, I use the Express. I'm showing you Express now. And so anyway, you're going to take and download the SQL, the backup file, and I'm going to go restore database. And what you need to do, you'll get to here, and the source database, you want to choose device, and you want to click this little button that's kind of hidden. And what you need to do is click add to find that file that's on disk. And unfortunately, you have to go through your file system based on wherever the hell you downloaded this thing to. And once you find it, you'll be able to connect it. I think I put mine in the repo, and here it is, demo, data, SSMS underscore backup.back. And I'll click OK, then I'll click OK again, and now this is all well and good. Now, this is going to put this into the database I already have. So I'm going to do lab 2. You can call it whatever you want. You can override it. And so you just click OK, and it says database restored successfully, and now I have this lab 2, and inside of lab 2, I've got a bunch of tables, and inside of those tables is all the stuff. So that's how you restore the database, and I'll put the link to where to download SQL Server in case you don't have it and you want to follow along. That's it for this video. We'll see you in the next. Thanks, bye. So in this workflow template, I want to show you how to create, I'm giving you my template that I use for creating these articles with images. So this is an article with an image. And again, going back to Google Alerts, one of the Google Alerts that I have, besides this, I have, actually I'm on GDP. Let me go over to David Soden. So one of the Google Alerts that I have is I'm searching on agentic AI. And every day I get a plethora of this news that comes out. But more importantly, I have the RSS feed for that. Okay, so that'll make sense. Now let's go to the N8N where I've attached this for your use or review. And here is my daily LinkedIn post. A couple things going on. I have this on a schedule. I usually do it around the same time every morning. And then I do a switch case. And in the switch case, I'm basically taking the dynamic now variable for the weekday, and I'm putting it to string, and I'm trying to figure out what is the day of the week. Now, it goes 1 through 7, and so if it is 1, I know it's a Monday. If it's a 2, I know it's a Tuesday, and so on and so forth. And so for each one, I have Monday's post through Friday. I only post Monday through Friday. And then in my OpenAI, I'm looking at a couple of different things. I've given it some tools, so let's zoom into one of these days here. And so on each of the days, I'm using OpenAI. I'm going out to the news feed. It's a tool, and I'm using the new thinking object so it can kind of think through. So it might iterate 1 or 2 times before it comes up with a finalization of whatever's going to happen. And it's writing my article based on the news it's getting from the Google Alert, which is that RSS feed. So every day it's a new article about something different, and I tell it to keep it in scope to the general areas of focus that we're looking for. And then what I do is I basically throw in the context of the article and say, I need an image that needs to be generated. I convert that image into something binary that I can use to post into LinkedIn. And then I simply post that in there. So I'll let you explore each of the notes. I just wanted to explain to you what it does very generically and the components that are inside of it. So that's it for now. I may be posting additional videos on the course as time goes by. As of the date of this recording, or at least as of right now, this is the last video in the entire course. It's been an incredible journey. Thank you so very much for joining me in this fantastic program known as N8N, and I look forward to adding additional videos and having conversations with all of you. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Adding a new section, currently right now it's unpublished, but I'm adding a section at the end of this course called bonus videos, difficult nodes and or situations. And the first video that I'm going to add is going to be this Airtable attachments, not so simple. And so anytime I encounter something that I think is interesting for you to learn about, I'll post it on my YouTube channel, which is at David Soden. So just youtube.com at David Soden, and then you should be able to find a channel. Currently right now it's a big focus on Microsoft's Power Platform, but I'll also be adding the Airtable videos there. Depending on how things go, I may even create a new channel. But in any event, as of right now, I'll be putting them here, so you can get all those videos here. So make sure you stay tuned and stay updated and come back often, as I'll be updating new videos in this area. The other thing too to think about is I may also add difficult situations just in general to help you overcome any type of issue that might come up with regards to, I don't know, not just a node, could be just Airtable in general, or maybe just a use case in business. So anyway, that's it for this intro. We'll see you in the next video where I'm going to publish this first one about Airtable attachments, not so simple. Hey everybody, welcome to this video. Today I want to show you about a simple use case. I just have a simple base up here on n8n. I called it n8n forms. The idea is I will collect information through an n8n form and simply upload everything that you see here. Well, I'm only going to upload name, and what I want to talk about, the purpose of this entire video, because all of this is straightforward until you get to the attachments. Now, assignee, status, and attachments they come along for the ride with every base that you create or every table that you create. They're kind of just extra columns. And while interesting, it's like, oh, okay, this is all well and good and fine. And so you go ahead and you create your Airtable. Here, let's just start completely from scratch here. So we'll do on form submission, and you got a form, and you're like, okay, this is great. We'll just do demo for this. Again, demo form for that. We'll come down to attributions, and we'll turn it off because most people do. And so now we're almost set up. Basically, we'll just say name here, and then we'll leave it as text, and we'll add one more item, and we'll call this, I don't know, a file, right? Okay, now, for the element type, we'll choose... What's a good option here? Let's see, file type would be file. Okay, cool. And then there's this checkbox for multiple files, okay? So you want to turn this off because at this point, these can handle multiple files. But for right now, we'll just handle the single one because it's a lot easier to just deal with this. All right, so let's go back and let's not spoil the fun that you already know about or you may not know about. So in any event, we're going to have some fun now. All right, so I've got this form. And now what I need to do is fill it out. So I'll just put my name, Mr. Foo. And I'll pick me a wonderful file. Let's just go to pictures. Save pictures. Oh, come on, David. Where's your pictures at? There it is. Pictures, and we'll pick that ugly guy right there. No, I'm kidding. Be kind to yourself. So the other thing that you need to do is then submit it, and lo and behold, your form is wonderful. Everything's working good. Life is good. You're like, okay, cool. Let's just attach this. Let's into an Airtable. So you type in Airtable, you get Airtable, and then you're like, okay, cool. Let's create a record. And you're like, oh yeah, here's this binary because we attached a file. So now we have this fourth item that we've discussed earlier in the course. So I pop over to schema, so I get my nice, user-friendly thing away, and I'm gonna be like, okay, let me go over to my base. I called this base n8n forms. So I pop back over into, sorry, got ahead of myself, pop back over into the forum. And I'm like, okay, resource record create from list. Okay, let's do this. It's the n8n base forms. All right, now I gotta pick the table, and the table is basically gonna be this forms table because this is the name of the sheet. If it was Google Sheets, and this is the name of n8n forms would be like the workbook, and then form table would be the name of the sheet. But the nomenclature in n8n, again, keep getting ahead of myself on that stupid tab. So you just pick the name n8n forms, and then I only have the one item in here from the list anyway. And I'll pick the forms table, and lo and behold, all of this data comes through that, these are all of the columns that I have. And by the way, if you ever get out of sync, you'll get like this diamond thing up here, and then you'll get, here, let me just show you what that might look like. Oh, I keep going to that tab, it's driving me nuts. And let's get rid of age for right now. We'll just delete the field. And we'll go back to the form and see, now you got this thing. It says columns are outdated. Click refresh to see the changes. Then you get this little refresh icon. You do need to make sure you're clicking that. This is a complete tangent, but these situations come up and maybe you're all new to this, so I want to make sure you're at least well armed. All right, so now the fun begins, or so you think. And you're just going to drag and drop, right? You got your name, Mr. Foo's there, life's good. You fill out all these other fields. Drag and drop them from the form or whatever the case may be, and over here an attachment, and now you get a little confused. So you're like, okay, here's the file name. So you might be inclined to just say a file, and you pop it in there. Everything looks good, and life is good, and like, okay, right, you're off to the races, and then all of a sudden, boom, you test it, and what is this? It says invalid input for attachments, item 0. Attachments expects an array, but we got an object. And you're like, what the heck is that talking about, right? And so you're looking through here, and so you'll struggle, you'll go back and forth, you'll be like, okay, it needs the binary thing. So I'll just grab a file, and I'll put a file over here, and most folks don't actually read. And the other thing is that most folks aren't programmers. If you're a programmer, you know exactly what's going on, and that would make sense. But a lot of people that use n8n, because it is so darn easy, you run into these nuances like this. And so this video is really mainly addressed for you non-programmers, but n8n doesn't make it clear either on actually what's going on. And so it should have some what's the word I'm looking for? It should have some helper files or a warning or some type of information, or maybe a little icon or something here explaining what exactly goes here, or some helper text, because without seeing a video like this, you would not have any idea. And you're going to spend hours banging your head fixing this problem. How in the hell do I get an attachment in the stupid form? Like, everything else is so lickety split easy, but this one field of attachments is painstakingly dreadful, horrible. All right, I'm no longer going to get ahead of myself. Let me tell you what's going on. Okay, you essentially have to provide some code to make this work. And not only do you have to provide code, you have a couple of different options to handle this. So A, you can completely go the hard way or the advanced way if you're a programmer and use another node in your flow. So up to this point, right, you'll do this, and then you might call an HTTPS. right? And you'll get this request, and then you'll change this method to post, and you'll fully follow along with this article, and you'll pass your API key in for authentication and do everything that you need. Now, this is OAuth, so this gets a little tricky, so I'm not going to go into all of that. You know what you're doing. You're a programmer if you're going this route. For the rest of you, let me show you the least painful way to get this, and I'll give you the code. I'll give you the snippet for this code so you know what to put here. Now, the snippet that I'm going to give you, let me get rid of this HTTP geeky programming. Let me go back to here. And so for attachments, we're going to use an expression. And the expression I'm going to give you, this is the snippet that I'm going to give you as a text file. So you'll just copy and kind of paste this out. And my code may or may not work for you, depending on how you do what you're going to do. Unfortunately, a couple things that are going on here. First of all, n8n for attachments is expecting an array. Okay, so I'm going to show you the simpler way. Now remember, on the form, I disabled the multi attachment. I only have one attachment. So this is the best, easiest use case for this. Because you've gone through the course, you should know how from data transformations to convert objects into arrays. I'm going to give you the syntax for a single object array. And from there, it's up to you to figure out how you want to handle the rest of the array. So that will be an exercise for you guys because you already are armed with the knowledge. You've got to get your hands dirty, and I want you guys to figure this one out. Okay, so I'm only going to give you the answer, the partial answer to fix this one attachment problem. You guys should be able to hopefully be able to figure how do you handle if you toggle that back on and turn on the multiple attachment file. Okay, so I'm also going to provide a link to this very specific URL, so you'll have that and you'll be armed with it, but technically you won't need it. So minimally, all you're going to need is this code. All right, so what I'm going to do here, because n8n is expecting an array, more importantly, I want you to look at this other problem that we need to solve first. And this says URL. And this is a URL to a file. Now, I'm going to go on a brief tangent here. So if you are from n8n, the corporation, and you're watching my video or taking my course, my suggestion or hope would be is that your development team would do something to this node, this attachment node, or rather to the Airtable node, and simply just allow an end user to drag and drop something from the schema side, like maybe just a file, and then programmatically behind the scenes, you should be able to map this data to what it's looking for to the user interface by having the user simply provide a file. And then behind the scenes, using the webhook, you should be able to give people access to the binary object that you already have because you have all of the metadata, you have everything that's needed, and convert that programmatically into a URL so that it works with this, so that end users, I don't have to teach end users how to go through this pain to solve the problem. It would be a great feature. It's already built into n8n. It would just be, well, not maybe a little tweak, but a minor tweak, so to speak, so that end users don't have to go through this. Okay, the other thing that I need to do is pop this back open. Now, I'm going to grab the code because we're going to use all of this as placeholder, and then we're going to clean up. So here's the placeholder. I'm trying to. I don't know why that did not copy. Let's try this again. Copy. Right-click, paste. Okay, all of my code got in here. All right, so I said I was going to clean this up. So let's start by cleaning this up. Now we need to keep everything in quotes because everything, this is JSON in here. So the file name, that's fine. We don't need the file ID. We won't need this, and we won't need this. So technically, all we're going to use is these two pieces of information. So this, if you remember your JSON, you got square brackets that indicates a table. And so anything inside of that, you'll see at least minimally one set of curly braces, and that indicates a record. And then anything inside the curly braces, again, is your column names. Okay, so this is all we need, is we need a table, and we've unchecked the multiple, so we're only going to have one in this use case. Now, if you did uncheck that, this would be multiple, and don't try to hard code this. You're going to need to make sure you do it dynamically, because the end user filling out the form may pop in 1 to n number of forms. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, let me jump out here real quick, because I'm now curious myself. I forgot. On the form, I think you can limit, if you do enable multiples, I think there is a setting that limits how many objects you can attach. Form response, form path, workflow, I guess not. It looks like it's unlimited. Yeah, okay, and then you can provide MIME types to limit the type of file that they can upload, but it doesn't look like you can limit the number of files if you turn this on. So you could get a tremendous amount of files. I personally, unfortunately, do not know the limitations of how many attachments you can add and or how big. Maybe there's a file size in aggregate. So if you have, I don't know, n number of files, all of those files cannot exceed, for example, 25 megabytes in size. So you'll need to account for all of that in your flows, especially if you start getting some really gnarly use cases. So be cognizant that in the future, this could be a breaking point. Start thinking ahead. This is the problem with an analytical mindset. I'm always thinking about how a user can break something. And so I'm trying to always go 3 steps ahead. And so this is the type of thinking, when you do this type of stuff, you got to be thinking, how is this going to break? And if it breaks, how do I handle it? So minimally, make sure you do some error handling. Minimally, make sure you're doing alerts. You have a whole separate flow that handles these types of things. All right, in any event, let's get back to solving this problem. Now, I told you there's another problem that we need to solve for, and that was I have to provide the file as a URL. And this is a problem because I have the binary data. So what am I going to do with this? Okay, so to solve this problem, I'm going to use OneDrive. You could use an S3 bucket. You could use Azure storage file containers. But keep in mind, whatever you use, and this is where, like, this is so frustrating because all you want to do is attach a file, right? And look at all the stuff you have to go through. This is one of the negative aspects, and they're rare, but when they come up, they're super frustrating because you're so trained to simplicity. You're going to have to figure out, like, for example, now I do have in the course the authentication section on how to get credentials in Google. So this is already provided for you. So this should be a light work of it. And so mostly everybody has a Gmail account. It's very easy to get one if you don't have one. And then when you do, you'll have access, I think, up to like 10 gigabytes or something of storage space for not only your mail, but maybe Google Drive. Anyway, you'll create, a folder. Right now I'm in my Drive and I'm in an н8н folder. But what I want to do is create another folder, and I'm going to use this folder for my uploads. And the other problem is I need to make this folder public, and any file that goes in it publicly available. So I'm going to create a new folder, and we're going to call this н8н uploads _uploads, right? Okay, so now I have this folder called н8н uploads, and I want to come over to here, and I want to start looking at sharing, and I want to click on share. And down here to share, right now general access is restricted. Only people with access can open the link. I'm going to say anybody can open the link, but I'm going to set its mode to just viewer because I don't want the public being able to create, upload, delete, and use my Google Drive in a nefarious way. I only want people to be able to view the file. And in this use case, how we're using it, we want Airtable to be able to view the file for the purposes of doing what it needs to do. Now we're going to circle back in the same flow and clean up. So we're going to just use this as a staging folder. So we're going to upload the folder so we can get a URL, only so that we can post it into the Airtable. And then after the Airtable submission is correct and good, we're going to circle back to this file and we're going to delete this file. So this folder is just like it's a temporary sling your file around the internet type of folder. So with that being done, I'm going to leave it as such. I'm going to go back to here now that I have my folder set up. I'm going to click the plus. We're going to go to Drive, and we have Google Drive, and I am going to upload a file. Okay, so under the file operation down here, we have data. At this point, this is fine, but not fine because this says data and our binary says a file. For you, it will say, chances are it'll say data, but you have to be careful because when you create the form field, right, for the file that's going to be uploaded, this name right here is what gets shown there. So unless you name this data, it's not going to be kind of the default out of the box thing. So be careful of that. So make note of that. Take that word a file, copy that, and now you're going to put this in here for the input field name. Okay. Now the file name, we're going to come back over to schema, and we're going to grab this file name, and we're going to provide this just like that. Okay. Now the parent drive. So you have a couple of things. It's my drive, and that's fine because that represents in Google this my drive area. Okay. So just leave it like that. That's all well and good. But now we got to traverse down to that folder, and I'm going to search for н8н, and let's see what pops up. And we got a couple of things. So here's my н8н uploads folder. So I got that picked. All right. So now that I have this sample image up there, let's test this. And I'm going to pop into this folder. I'm going to tear this tab out, and we're going to go this to the left, and we're going to pick this one and all the way over here so that we can kind of see what's going on at the same time, because I want to know that this is working as expected, because if this doesn't work and this breaks down, we're in trouble. So click test, and we've got a problem. Let's see what's going on. We'll make it widescreen. It says the operation expects the input node data to contain binary, a file, but none was found. So that's interesting. I thought that was all taken care of. So this is what's undefined. A file name, input field name, and that's why. There's nothing there. Dang it. I guess it timed out or did something weird. Yep, I don't have it on there anymore. I'm going to have to fill out the form again. All right, stop. All right, so I got to break this because this is causing problems for right now. Let's just get rid of this for the moment, and let's get to this stage and we'll circle back. This is driving me bonkers. Okay, delete the connection. I'll delete this node so we can start over. This is the problem when things get wonky. Let me quickly save this. Sometimes н8н goes bonkers on you a little bit. All right, so personal, and where's Airtable attachment, test workflow, foo. Oh, it was Mr. Foo, wasn't it? So Mr. Foo, choose the files, and we'll just pick my mug. All that's good. Let's do the drive. Google Drive, upload a file. Again, data is not right. We want to use a file. The file name, grab from schema. We should be able to use the file name here. My drive, I'm going to search н8н, look for uploads, and hit test, and quickly move this over. All right, and now I'm in the uploads folder. I don't see anything here. Let's refresh for good measure, and lo and behold, there's our file name, 168, and there's my mug too. Okay, so we know that we got the file, so all of that is working. And you also saw some nuances in here, because every once in a while, if you're sitting here and you've gone idle, things time out, things get crazy. That's why you can pin data, and it's very helpful to pin it because of this problem. Anyway, if you're not familiar with pinning, you go into here, and there's this little pin thing up here, but in this use case, I can't pin for this use case. All right, I've gotten all of that just so that I can go back and grab my Airtable, and I'm going to have to set all that up again. So here's Airtable, and I want to create a record. And so from here, I want to grab from the base is forms, the form list. There's only one. Come on, you can do it. Let's try this again. There we go. All right, the name, we're going to grab this from the form. It's Mr. Foo. And for the attachments, we're going to do an expression. And I'm going to come back over here. We're going to come and copy that back out. We'll paste this back in. We're going to do all of our cleanup again, because unfortunately I had to delete all of that. So we'll get rid of this, and this, and this, and this. OCD satisfied. That's taken care of. Okay. And then I also need to get rid of this as well. All right, so I'm going to provide the file name. And there's multiple different ways of doing it. So to be consistent, you can pull the file name from here, which is coming in from the form, which is the same thing that I used. And the other thing, too, you can see the results. So make sure you get a resolution, okay? So you can pull it from there. You could have also pulled it from Google Drive. So somewhere in here is the file name, 168 something or other. It is here. It's just, unfortunately, an awful... Oh, come on now. Grabbing this little... There we go. Grabbing this is hard. All right, here it is right here. Name. So you can use this name, or you can go use the other one that I used right there, okay? So up to you. The important thing, whoops, actually, I got that messed up. I need to cut that out. File name needs to go where the file name goes, right? Now, the URL, we got to grab this URL from this right here, all right? And this is the web content link. Very, very, very important. Do not use the view link. Use the content link. This will allow n8n to provide the proper URL to Airtable so that it can grab that. And so now you have this value, and you can test this by simply copying this, because if this doesn't work as a litmus test, you're kind of in trouble. So I'm going to grab Microsoft Edge, another browser that I'm not signed into Google Drive with, and I'm going to click this, and I'm going to push that same URL that's being resolved, and see what happened. It downloaded that file. So it is a valid file, and it is downloading it, okay? So that's the key. And now that we know that it's working in the other browser and it was able to grab the file, that means your permissions are set up properly on Drive. Now you're going to have to also make sure if you do this in an S3 bucket that bucket is exposed publicly as well. All right. And so you're going to have to handle whatever facility you're going to use to sling files on the internet. But Drive is just the temporary fix for this problem. Okay. So now I have all of this information in here. I should be able to test this. Now, again, in my Airtable form, I have no record. We should see Mr. Foo, and we should see the attachment if everything is good. So I'm going to tear this off. We'll go over here to the side, we'll pick up this, and so now let's test this. And I do have node executed successfully, and so let's come over to Airtable, we'll make it big, so we can see what's going on. I'll hit F5 on the keyboard to refresh, and lo and behold, Mr. Foo came in, and look at that. I now have, if I click into the field, I can hover over it, I can click on it, and I got my attachment into Airtable. So all of that just to get an attachment in there. So that's a lot of just craziness for a workaround for an issue that's not so clear how to fix. Okay, so again, I'll provide you the snippet of code. I will provide you just a quote. You'll have to fill in this information as it applies to you, because this is going to be different for everybody. And I'm just going to show you how to do some cleanup. Again, your cleanup is going to be different. So Google Drive, and this time I want to delete a file. So at this point, I want to delete from the list n8n, and from the list, that's going to be the file. Delete. I should be able to get this from here and select a file. I am going to choose by ID, so it's a lot easier because we already have the ID from the insertion. So we'll grab this ID to that ID, and we'll hit test setup one more time, and we got a success there, which means in Google Drive, where's my n8n folder, n8n, my file is now deleted properly. Okay, so that is how you create a flow to handle this esoteric problem about using Google Drive as a temporary storage facility so that you can provide an array of attachments. Now again, this is statically done, and it's okay, it works with one. You're gonna have to take a different method and a different approach when it comes to toggling the form to be multiple, okay? So I'll let you figure that one out. You've got all the skills now from this course to be able to solve this problem, because now you're aware of this, now you just need to solve the problem, and you've got to solve that problem, because if you don't, you're gonna get stuck in n8n, and it's going to be a problem for you as you move forward. So that's why I'm not providing you that full solution here. Okay, so in any event, that is it for this video. The next time we encounter some crazy esoteric issue, we'll bring this up. This one's a little bit long because there was such a lot to explain, and there is just one calamity after another in a series. So unfortunately, this wound up being a much longer video than I anticipated. All right, that's it for this one. We'll see you in the next. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, in this video I want to show you some esoteric things about Notion. This will also be a bonus video. Almost need to probably break this video out into 2 videos, but I will just leave it as such. Notion is one of those things where either you love it or you hate it, so I don't know how many people watching this course use Notion or want to know more about it. But if you're watching this video, you probably do use it. So anyway, I'm going to take you from the beginning to the end. It'll be a fairly quick video. There's not... It's not nearly as bad as that Airtable video that I had to do because there was just, I don't know, something so simple wound up being so hard. All right, so with that being said, this is fairly straightforward. It's just a little eclectic as far as what you can do with it. I'm going to use the database action because a lot of people probably are using Notion with n8n for databases, meaning they're going to write data in and out of this because maybe they're using a table. If you've used Airtable, it's similar to Airtable. So and that's the cool thing about Notion. It's like a combination of Airtable and OneNote or Evernote, or it's really cool. I haven't found a lot of perfect use for it. If you're a small to medium-sized business, great, but I deal mostly with larger enterprises, so, you know, I don't know. Anyway, but I do know that it's very popular with people that are small to medium-sized businesses, probably no more than 500 employees, if I had to guess. So, in any event, that being said, let's show you how to get a database from Notion, and it all starts with a connection. I don't have any, so let's start here. And essentially, I need to get this integration secret, okay? And so it's fairly straightforward to do, but you may not be too familiar with how to get it. So here I am in Notion. I've got a blank account for the most part. I called it Acme. And come over here to settings. Now, it gets confusing because there is account level information and there's connections that's new. And so you might be looking for a way to do n8n or get my API key, or what is it called again over here in Notion? They call it a, oh shoot, where is it? Oh, internal integration secret. Yeah, I was on the page. Anyway, so there's no way to find it there. Unfortunately, you need to click on this develop or manage integrations, which is new here. So it's another click. You may also have gone down here to click under connections here because there's a connections there and a connections here. And so if that's the case, you're in the right area both places, but just again, click on this develop or manage integrations. This will take you to a whole new weird backend. And so what you want is this integration and new integration. The associated workspace, depending on if you have more than one, you'll choose the right one you want for you. For me, I only have one. You can assign an icon or logo to it. I'll put my mug there. And as far as setting it up, you just click save. And it says the name's required, so I'm going to call it n8n because that's what it's called. I always forget that step because it looks, I don't know, it just kind of blends in. Anyway, so now I've created it, but now I need to configure the integration settings. The only thing that you might want to change from here is to make it more restrictive, if that's what your goal is using n8n with this Notion. So you also may want to just give it pretty much full capability so that it can read and respond to comments for whatever reason. The other thing you can do is make it more restrictive. I'm kind of opening it up, the floodgates, to give me the most. There is a webhook in there. I'm not 100% how that is applicable. I don't know if it's a webhook into n8n or if it's a webhook out of n8n, but I don't have a paid account and you need to have a subscription to do that, so I was not inclined to go further down the rabbit hole to chase that. All right, so let me close this down. Let me close this. I'm going to refresh the page for good measure, so it refreshes my account. I'll come over here to settings, come down here to connections, and now I see my n8n. If I come up here to connections, I don't see it. So the long story short is, when you're in this type of screen, use the bottom connections because this is where your connection that you just created lives. And one of the things that we need to do is go back into this and click on it. And when we need to show the key and then copy the key, I'll delete this, by the way, afterwards. Not that there's anything in here that I need to worry about. Probably just delete the whole Notion account because I'm not using it. And you'll paste your secret in here. And then you'll click save, and with any luck, it tests and connects successfully. So it is working. All right, so the next thing we might want to do is get a list of databases. So we'll go, okay, it's get from databases, but the problem is I don't have any databases because I didn't create any databases. So I'm going to come over here to my team spaces, click add new, and I'm going to choose empty database. And let's give the database a name. We'll call this, call it prospects. You can even name the table. We'll say a list of, so it's like a poor man's CRM or something. Anyway, change the name, layout, that's all well and good. So I've got the name change. Let's add a field. So I'm going to click the plus. We'll pick the data type of email, and that should be good enough. We'll put one record in here. That way, at least we have some data in our table. And lo and behold, I have prospects. So let's flip back over to here, and now let's get a name of the databases. And it says parameter database is required. So we're clicking, nothing's happening. So we're like, okay, we'll exit this. We'll go back into it. We'll pull the drop down, it queries, and still nothing. So we're like, what the hell's going on? So we delete it, click here, and this is the esoteric part, that the whole reason for this video. So you're like, something went wrong, as they often do. And you're banging your head against the wall. I mean, things aren't a problem until they're a problem, but then when they are a problem, it's just like, oh my God, how do I solve this, right? So again, we want to get the database, and now we have our Notion account already by default. It's on get with the operation. We just go again, and we still can't get to it. So what the heck is the problem? The problem is, even though you created the integration, is the security is esoteric in Notion and somewhat of a PITA. Okay, if you're not familiar with that term, I've used it a couple of times, go search the acronym. And the problem is that every time you create new pages or objects and you go new and you do whatever you create new, right? When you start adding stuff in here, everything that you add, you've got to allow your connection access to it. So how do you do that? So in order to get access to this database called prospects, I've got to come up here at the top right corner and click on these horizontal ellipses, come over here to connections, and then scroll down or around until I find my N8N connection that I set up. And now I can connect N8N to this page. I'm going to click confirm, and now N8N has access to this page. So setting up the connection isn't enough. You have to manually, for each and everything you want N8N to interact with, give that connection access to that, because then and only then will you be able to make your query and finally get access to what you think you're supposed to get access to. And so that is the fix. That is the takeaway. That's the secret to the sauce. So the takeaway again is each and every page or object or whatever you create, go over here, go to your connections, and make sure that you see active connections and it says N8N. If it's not there, it's missing, you need to add it. If it's there, you might need to disconnect and re-add it, or go to your node, delete the node, add the node, whatever the case may be, refresh the page. But this is the problem. It all comes down to this connection. All right, guys, that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm back for another value add video. I hope to save you guys a lot of time with this one. So I see people having a lot of problems in this area, and I want to head this off before it becomes a problem for you. It probably already became a problem, which is why you're watching this video. So nonetheless, when you're talking about your PC and you're talking about connections to N8N, to various services, lots of times you'll see examples like localhost, or maybe they use the word 127.0.1. And so there's a quick fix for this video. I'll just get to the answer real quick. Anytime you're using Docker to connect to your own machine for services in N8N, this is going to be really bad for you, because the majority of people just download a container and run the container, and then they try to connect to stuff and it doesn't work. And the reason is localhost is your nemesis. Let me come back to this now that I showed you what you need to do. For those that know, probably saw what I did there and they're like, oh my God, that's going to work. So great. You can stop watching this video. For everybody else, here's why this works. All right. So on your PC, you install N8N either on Docker or on Node. Docker is its own computer, okay? It's a computer inside of a computer. It's like a virtual network, okay? And so it's not treated the same. When you're dealing with Node, Node is just an application. It's software, and software running other software, okay? And so technically, yes, Docker fits into that category, but it's not, because Docker has its own network. It can host other containers, which are really bare pieces of code that act like their own machine. And those machines, containers, are running in their own environment, their own network. It's sitting and running on a daemon. It gets complicated. Bottom line is, all of that complexity makes it stupid simple for you to grab an image and download it. So for example, here's Docker. I'm running a container. All I did was download N8N. If you search N8N, you can grab it, you can hit run, and it will download it, pull it, and run it. And when you do that, you'll wind up getting Docker and the container running on port 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, I did do something a little extra. I downloaded the image, I hit play, except I changed the host port because I'm already running N8N in Node on my machine. And so if we look at that real quick, here I have Node. Well, actually I have a Llama running, but I'll get back to that. So here is the Docker instance, okay? It's running on port 8809. This is how I overwrote it. But here is my Node instance. I'm running it on the native port. I didn't change it. I didn't do anything. I'm just running Node, and I'm running that. And then this is the Docker one. This is what you're going to have, except if you don't do anything, you just choose run on the image, and you're going to get it on the default port. The port's not as important. But the point here is that I want to illustrate, you've got a Docker machine, and you're trying to solve this problem, okay? So on the Docker, because when you're referring to localhost, and let's just set up a simple flow, and I wanted to use a Llama because I am running Llama, and you can see it's running, but it's running on localhost. But let's talk about this. Let's create a workflow. We'll do it on chat. I'm not going to explain the workflow because I've already done this in other areas. So I'm simply just going to add an AI agent, and then in that AI agent, I'm going to pick a chat model. I'm going to pick a Llama because, again, I'm running a Llama locally. I've never done this. It's a fresh, clean install. So I'm going to have to create some credentials. So here's this problem, right? Normally, if I'm running Node and I hit save, everything works, right? But it says it can't connect. And it's because this is running in Docker. Well, what is the difference between localhost and host.docker.internal? When you use host.docker.internal, what you're referring to is the host machine that Docker for Windows or Docker desktop is running on if you're on Mac or Linux or whatever. It's referring to the host machine, not the not Docker, not the instance that n8n is running on. It knows it is running on the virtual machine. So in a Docker network, when you refer to host.docker.internal, just know that the long or short of this is that if we go back to the presentation, Docker is the local host and whatever you got running on it. So you can't get to these things. And life's good in Node, right? Everything works fine. The problem is, again, Docker trying to get to these other services running on your local host. That's where this comes in. This is telling n8n, don't look to the local instance where you are. You are running on Docker, and you want to go to the host machine that is hosting Docker, okay? And so I clicked on that, so I'm going to get an error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this out. Let's go back to n8n. And where I got that error, let's swap out localhost for host.docker.internal and click save. And now all of a sudden, automatically everything works. Now this is Olama. This equally works for other things. So just to make sure that we see this working, I'm going to say hi. And actually, it's not going to work. Let me fix something real quick. I have to pick a model. So let me go pick Code Llama. So now I've got Olama. I picked a model that I'm running in Olama. And if you're not sure what Olama is a way for you to run large language models locally. And unfortunately, Olama, you have to run it. You install it in Windows really easy with a Windows app. But then to use it, you just use the command line. So this gives a list of all of the models that I have installed. But if you just type Olama, it tells you the available commands that is available to you to run. So you can. This is how you use pull to pull models from the registry. If you're not sure, we'll just type in Olama. If you go to Olama and you come, this is the site where you download it. Okay, it's available on Mac, Linux, Windows. You download the models. You come over to models and you see which models are for what area. And let's just say I wanted to run Gwen 3. You come up here and you copy this command, Olama run Gwen 3, and so that's all you have to do, and it pulls the model down, and now it's available to you locally. That means that when you go into this area, like you saw me do, and you pick the model, it will show up here, but you have to run this command first. Doesn't matter whether you're on Mac, Linux, whatever, it's a command line, and in the command line, you have to type those commands in order to get it to work. Anyway, I've digressed, as I usually do, unfortunately, and it's just because I want to explain everything to you. And the problem with this is not just going to... The solution here is this doesn't just apply to running a large language model. If I'm coming out here and I run SQL, let's just say I'm running MySQL, and I want to execute a query. And now I have to choose the credentials, new credentials. See, again, localhost. This is a problem. So in this instance, I would just use this. I would replace localhost with this. I don't have MySQL installed locally. But the point here is, this is what you're going to use. So swap this out on anything, any connector that you're trying to get to on your local machine. All of a sudden, magically, everything will connect because of the way Docker works and is. So I hope that this this solution, the way you should be doing it, will get you through a lot of frustration and doesn't defer you from using Docker. Because I think Docker is really easy for a lot of people, and they should be running it this way. Unless you're really a geeky IT person, don't run it in Node. It is a lot more complicated, and you're going to run yourself into a lot of issues. So if you're a noob or beginner or not very technical, Docker makes the light work of it. However, there's these nuances like this that are very helpful to help you have a really great experience with n8n. Okay, that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, want to do a quick video for you, or hope it's a quick video, with regards to showing you how to maintain your Cloudflare tunnel, as well as an extra bonus tip, because several of you have asked about what do I do if I already have an existing domain and I want to use a Cloudflare tunnel, and I want to configure it with that other domain hosted not with Cloudflare. Is that possible? And the answer to that question is yes. So let me start with some prerequisite house cleaning, so at least there's good understanding. Previously, I showed you how to configure the tunnel, basically hosting n8n at home for free, with the caveat that you need to leave your machine on 24/7. Otherwise, you'll need to just pay for hosting elsewhere in the cloud. Okay, so that being said, I am at developers.cloudflare.com, and at this stage, you just want to go into this zero trust, because that's essentially where the tunnels fall under. And if you click on tunnels, you get a bunch of information in here. Now, one of the things that you want to go and reference, or at least for the purposes of this video, a couple things. So public host names, DNS records, that's what you want to click on. And here it is going to, the important information you need is right here front and center at the top. And more specifically, what you need is this. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it off. Let's go and put this here, and I'll paste it here, and we'll come back. Okay, so basically what you need to do is you have a service that is running on Cloudflare called an Argo tunnel. And the Argo tunnel is what does all the magic. The CF just is for Cloudflare. Argo is one of their networking, it's the name that they chose for whatever. Don't want to get into the weeds on that. Anyway, tunnel is what it does. So that is the name. The key, the other part to this is you need to provide this UUID, which is also programmatically referred to as a GUID. You'll know it when you see it. And so let's go over to the tunnels. And if I look at tunnels, the GUID is the tunnel ID. It's this thing right here. So you copy that out. I'm going to copy mine out. And what you do is you paste it in, get rid of the brackets, greater than, less than, and the UUID, and paste that in here. This is the value that you use in your CNAME. Let me see if I can go find something that I've used here. Let's go into my DNS records. And let's go look at some of the domains. What else do I got here? Let's do this domain, and let's look at the, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the DNS. Why can I not find it? Somehow, I don't know what's going on here. Let me click on Cloudflare Home again. And, okay, there we go. I don't know. I clicked on something. It's weird. Okay, so what you're going to wind up finding here is, so here's the app. Here's the demo. This is a project that I was working on. And if we go into Edit, and we try to just grab all of this out. Okay, so here's a CNAME record. I'm giving it an app. Now this works. This isn't a thing. This is just how you do CNAME. So whatever you're using, whether it's GoDaddy or I don't know, there's a plethora of items that exist out there in the internet. Hopefully you know how to do a CNAME. That's out of scope for this course. If not, call your hosting provider and have them walk you through. Typically you just choose from a type, and then you choose CNAME. You give it whatever you want, foo, at whatever domain you're targeting this on, which in my case I'm doing shortifyapi.com. And so I just call this app. Anyway, so the value, if we come over here and I paste that in, that value is referring to the tunnel instance. Now I've got lots of URLs sitting here on my tunnel on my local machine. So you could have 50, 100, or 1. It doesn't matter. This tunnel instance ID is what's referred to as your tunnel ID. And so whatever you've got configured for your tunnel, let me go now once again back out. We'll go to Zero Trust, go to Networks, go to Tunnels. Whatever you've got configured here under your public host name. So I have all of these are posted here. So I have CNAMEs for LMS, Mermaid, App, Demo, Auto, IXFlow, Olama, n8n Class. Like all of these are using the CNAME value of this other item here. Okay, and so that's just as simple as how it is there. Okay, that's all there is to it. So you can host your domain name outside of Cloudflare. Although I got to be honest with you, Cloudflare charges you cost. So wherever you're buying your domain names from. Again, I'm not making a penny from this, so I'm just letting you know I'm cheap. And I don't want to pay a lot of money. So if you're also not wanting to pay a lot of money and you want to pay cost, Cloudflare offers a bunch of free services around this, and they give you domain names at cost. So even if you get $1.99 or 99 cents or even a free first year on the domain name, they're going to hit you for like 20, 15, 13, whatever dollars, and its cost is like $10, $6, $8, depending on the extension that you buy. And so as a result of that, you just want to make sure that you're not paying or overspending. All right, enough on that. The next thing I want to show you is some maintenance. So if we jumped over into the command line, now just in case for whatever reason you're watching this video out of sequence and you haven't watched hosting n8n at home for free, then this is not going to make much sense. But to recap, essentially you're creating a tunnel here. As you saw, I've got this tunnel that's created. And so you first go back into your tunnels, right? You create a new tunnel, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go through that again. But then when you're in the tunnel, then you download whatever client you're doing. So you can use Mac, Windows, Debian, Red Hat, Docker. You can download the appropriate agent and you install it on the machine. It's just sitting on the machine. And then what you do is there's a token that is generated for you, which is like a really, really, really long GUID. And you basically copy this out. So here's the command, and then you'll run this out. It's a massive long, it's Cloudflare services, install, and then that really long obnoxious number. And so as a result of that, it'll get really, really hard for you to remember. So you just copy and paste it and you're good to go. Now, once you do that, this installs a Windows service. So if you're using if you're using Macintosh, because I know most people are either going to be using Windows or Mac, and it's going to be like a 60-40, 30-70 split. Most people on Windows, a good majority of you also on Mac, or both. And so on Mac, it runs launched D to run a service, but you're really dealing with launch control to do those type of things typically. However, this on a Mac you don't interact with it. You interact with this service. It installs like an application on your Mac, just like it does Windows. So the commands are going to be similar across platforms. So just because you have a Mac versus Windows, just know that, and you probably do know that LaunchD and LaunchCTL is going to be what you normally would do to run services and stuff. So that's not what we're doing here. That's not what you're going to do on a Mac. You'll interact with it very similar. So the weird thing is it's called Cloudflare. So I always mess up the spelling. I always type flare, F-L-A-I-R. I don't know why. That's my bad habit. F-L-A-R-E, okay? And that's how you spell Cloudflare. But this service, this thing that you interact with, this application, it's Cloudflared ED. So that's what you run. Now, if you hit enter, what's going to happen is it's going to run, but it's not going to do anything. It's just going to sit there and sit there, and that's bad. Okay, so just do like Control or Command Control C or V to get out of. Actually, I just pasted along good. Somehow I got out of it, so that's good. So yeah, Command C to cancel out if you hit it. So Command C, yep, there we go, CLS. And at this point, what you need to do is type in Command H, okay? And Command H will give you the help file. It's not very helpful because it's wrapping, so you can either try to copy it or widen your window for visibility for this class. I've gone ahead and I printed this out. And so I just want to show you this. So a lot of it, this is the command you just saw me run. Let me get rid of this. So here is the keys information about the actual application. Notable, you have the version number, okay? So this is if you want to know the version, you can type this command and you will get it there. However, you can type in Cloudflare-V and it will return just the version. Now don't worry because occasionally as you log in, and this is kind of a problem, so you will have to check this out occasionally. When you go into your tunnels, occasionally you'll get like a triangle or something here, or when you go into configure and you're in editing, it'll pop up a little triangle letting you know that, hey, Cloudflare is out of date. Keep a hold of your emails. It will tell you that there's a new version of your tunnel software or something. Make sure you pay attention to that because typically there's security updates. And so to run the updates, it's fairly straightforward and simple. What you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your sorry, I lost my control window here. You're going to want to run this update command here, okay? And it's as simple as literally running Cloudflare. That's it, okay? So Cloudflare update. That will update your client that is already installed on the machine. Now, I wanted to show you this other thing here. So if I type in services, right? This will bring up the Windows services. In the list of Windows services, if you scroll down to the C and look for Cloudflare agent, you will see that it is running, okay? So this initial command that you run, where you do Cloudflare service, and then what will happen is the Cloudflare service will install and uninstall. Now, if you just type in Cloudflare service, you will get a little bit of additional information that lets you know, hey, you can install it, you can uninstall it. Unfortunately, they don't have a list. So if you're on Windows and you want to know if it's there, you can just look at it right here. Now, if you uninstall it, it will uninstall it with that obnoxiously long GUID. So if you really screw things up and you just nuclear the whole thing or foobar it, I will tell you there is a caveat here and you'll get spun around if you're not used to this. So if you see a service that's here running and you're trying to add another service and it said it can't do it because there's already another service that exists, just run Cloudflare service uninstall, right? And as soon as you run that, it will get rid of the Cloudflare service. Now, if I refresh here, it's gone, right? Now there's a problem, and so because there's a problem, I've uninstalled my Cloudflare tunnel. If you go back to tunnel, see, it says that it's down, and that's a bad thing. So if I go into configure again, and I go copy this command out, which is Cloudflare service install, and that obnoxiously long number again, and I run that, now all of a sudden, if I refresh, Cloudflare service is back up and running, and it's there. But more importantly, if I go back over into the tunnels, I can now see that it's healthy. It's back up again. And so if you run yourself into a sticky situation where you've maybe deleted the tunnel accidentally, or you're just ignorantly clicking through stuff trying to get it to work and haven't got yourself into a mess, just leave this tunnel here. Hopefully it's here. If you've deleted it, then you're just going to have to recreate everything all over again. And unfortunately for you, all of these will also get deleted as well. But hopefully you didn't delete the tunnel itself with the tunnel ID, because if you have done everything, not full nuclear, all you have to do is come down here, refresh your token, and that will refresh this long obnoxious GUID. And if you've installed the service, uninstall it, and then run this command here, that'll reinstall it, which is what you just saw that I did. And then we also covered the installation of that. So the keys are going to be update, version, but unnecessary, because if you just type the help, you'll get it here too. And then service is the other one, and then those sub commands that's underneath there. Everything else, honestly, you can ignore because you'll probably never, ever need it. But there are other items in here. If you're curious about all of that, go to the document. You got a lot of great information under Cloudflare tunnels. It'll discuss the overview, the get started. Like, there's a lot of really good information in here. I've already gone through it. And if you're curious, like I'm curious about things, then, if you got some time, go ahead and, burn up some hours and read through all of this stuff. Otherwise, I've given you everything that you need to make this successful up and running from the first video and now the second video, which is really more about maintenance and how to deal with Cloudflare if you're hosting outside of Cloudflare your domain name. All right, that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Here we want to focus on helping you get and use synthetic data in your testing so that you don't have to use real world data and make a mistake and then have to explain it to your organization. Well, I was just testing, so that has been something that's happened to me in the past, a long time ago, and hopefully it doesn't happen to you. So here's how you get around this. There's a really cool feature that is built into n8n, and it's for testing. If you just go to Actions in App, and then search within this and just type in n8n. There's two modules. You have customer data store with training, and notice there's an arrow, which means we have multiple operations for this item. And then we just have this singular customer messenger item here. So for this one, we can choose get one person. If we click test, it gives us a synthetic record, meaning a fictitious, made up piece of data that we can use downstream for whatever. Additionally, we can also use this get all people, and it is defaulted limited to 5, but unfortunately, that is all you're gonna get. You only get 5 records max. I don't know why they provide this limiting number here for you. I guess if you wanted to limit it to 3, then yeah, it's useful, but typically people are gonna be like, okay, well I want 50 or 100 or 1,000 or whatever. And so with only 5 records, it's pretty limited. So if you just flip that like that, it's also the same result. Bottom line is you only get 5 records max, and it's the same columns that you get. And so, you might just pop in the other node here for n8n testing, which is that customer messenger, and you're like, okay, well, typically you'll be in this type of mode here for schema, and you'll drag the ID over to here, and then you'll be like, hey, let's hi, because you're new, or maybe you're trying to get acclimated to n8n, and you're like, okay, cool, let's see how this works, and you hit test, and you look at that, and you're like, oh, cool, it sent hi to everyone, and then upon closer inspection, you see the number of 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36 here. And so you're like, okay, cool. It did send a message to everyone. Now, in certain use cases, as you use synthetic data, you need to be careful, very, very careful, because in some cases, because I drag this over here, it could treat it as a static. Okay, so right now it's dynamic. It's incrementing through the table. If we go to the table, here we see 32, 33, 34, 35. So we're getting incremental dynamic messaging. So it's gone through the list, and it's all well and good. But what happens if instead of you using this drag and drop method, I don't know, let's just say you double clicked on this, you copied it over, and then you did something like this. You hard coded it as a static. You didn't use the dynamic, right? And you hit test setup, and now all of a sudden, oh crap. Now, if this was in a real production world, you'd have a lot of explaining to do to Jay Gatsby, who just received N number, in this case only 5. What if he had 1,000 or 10,000 records? That poor person, poor Jay, like he's going to get spammed from IT or spammed from you, who put this whole debacle into motion. So this is why synthetic data in testing is so important, to make sure that you understand how n8n is going to act once you put it into a production mode or environment. So can't stress this enough. All right, so here's some of the nuances and gitches and gotchas and stuff like that. Obviously, in the rest of the course, I've already showed you how to use the filter node, so you could filter out n number of whatever records come back. But let's show you something else. This is a company called Makaroo.com, and you can get up to 1,000 rows of synthetic data, and they do get you started with this here. Now, let me walk you through the power of why this is so cool for synthetic data. I'll cut to the chase right now and say, if you need to get more than 1,000 records, then for $60 a year, I don't know what the limit is. It might be 100,000 or a couple 100,000 or something like that. Anyway, $60 a year gets you a paid version. But if you don't do that, you can use this for free, and you can test with 1,000 records. Again, they get you started. Now, here says ID and here says first name. But look, this is the data type, and you have all of these available data types. Now, why is this powerful? Because you get synthetic data for all of these different data types. Now, right here, there's 211 data types. There's 10 advanced data types, 30 basic data types, a whole bunch, 18 of commerce. There's construction. So there's very specific, nuanced data that's industry specific as well as just generic too. So you can have a lot of fun with creating a really complicated data set for this, and you can go and absolutely go crazy. You can do things in schema, data sets, project, all kinds of different scenarios, but some of this more advanced stuff is available again in the paid version. But I'm going to show you a quick down and dirty way of doing it. So the key here is going to be format. When you generate the synthetic data, this is the output. You can get a CSV file. We're going to use JSON, the second one, because we're doing it with n8n. And so I'm going to flip the switch there, but let's go back to the list. You can do Excel, XML, DBUnit, Firebase, Influx, blah, 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 or you can just create it like as SQL. So you can just insert rows maybe into your SQL or your Cassandra databases that you have. All right, so cool thing about it is now we get JSON, and if I go ahead and run this, I'll hit a preview, so we'll see what this is going to look like. And so that's well and good. And if I generate data, it's going to download this, and I don't really want this like this right now. But here's what you can do. Once you formulate your data to what you want, let's just add an extra field. Add another field instead of IP address. Let's see what the data types are. Let's see if something cool. Let's just say we're in healthcare, and let's pick a drug company, right? And my drug dealer. This is probably bad, but anyway, we'll just hit preview. And so here's the drug dealer, Adventure, Kroger, whatever. You can deal with it like this. And at this point, you're good to go. But now I want you to click Save As. Now, before you hit Save As, it's super important to make sure that you have set your format to JSON, because once you save this off, it's going to save this configuration. And you do want array, and you do want include no values. Hit Save. You'll have to sign up. I already have an account, so I'm just going to sign in. And I think it's Google. And I lost my field. My drug dealer. Okay, and health and drug company. Okay. So now we got this back. Oh, remember I told you? Make sure you do JSON. Okay, that's there. We're not appending any data set, but we're going to save off a schema, and that's what this is. So save as, and we're going to do n8n, and we'll just hit save. Okay, so now you see this, I got a number 1 under schema. If I go into here and I click on this and scroll down, I get this test curl. Now this right here is what you want. Inside of the double quotes, this is the URL to get the JSON data. Okay, so copy that out. Let's go back over to n8n, and now let's come in here and choose HTTP. And we'll use the request. In this case, it is a get, and we paste that URL here. Now, if you click test, give it a second, and now you have 1,000 rows of data. And not only do you have 1,000 rows of data, but you've got the following fields. And there's your drug dealer for Dylan here. Okay, so you have all of this wonderful, cool stuff that's in here. And at this point, you can use it and test it however you want. The power is in the various outputs. So there's multiple use case scenarios for it. I just wanted you to introduce that Makaru is behind the scenes, and it creates synthetic data. And because you can put it in, generate it through or around with an API, there's a lot of good and interesting use cases that now you can mock up and test and do whatever is that you want to do, because now you have 1,000 rows to play with. So this might help you do troubleshooting or performance testing on how long or how quick it takes to run whatever set operation, or you can extrapolate, especially with 1,000. Let's just say you had 50,000 things to do in your real world data. With 1,000 being tested, you can easily take however long it takes to run and loop and iterate through 1,000 items or whatever you're doing in your workflow, and then multiply that times 50, because that'll give you your anticipated lapsed time. And so you'll have some idea about performance, about whatever's happening. You'll have to look at the server. Maybe there's other stuff, really big jobs running. And so you can kind of balance or distribute this out, because if you swapped out this trigger with a schedule, which is right here on the schedule, now you have the opportunity to ensure that this job is being scheduled in a time that the server is experiencing the least amount of load and a compromise into what might need to go out at what time in the business, because there could be a deadline or whatever. But anyway, I've gone on long enough, given you enough information as to why, how, and how you could use all of this. So use it to your advantage, and that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video I want to basically show you how you can get the latest and greatest information on н8н to discover changes that come up and understand what they've done, what maybe they've fixed, if you're waiting on a fix, and then also what new features there are. So as of the date of this recording, I'm using and highlighting version 1930 that came out last week, and there's been significant changes already, even since I've recorded the entire course. So this new item that's up here is quite annoying, in my opinion, because it's unusable to the community edition. You do have to upgrade to get any of the insights, and ironically, this time saved item, it looks like I was extremely early in providing the SQL query in the other video when I show how to understand the н8н database and stuff. So that time saved item is now here, but it is a paid upgrade, and that SQL query gives it to you for free. So the bottom line and or takeaway here is all of the values that you're seeing here are just aggregations based on various time series, and some of these even require the enterprise edition of that. So now that you know how to get into the database, you can get all of this information yourself. Use ChatGPT or some sort of AI to help understand the schema and give it samples of maybe a row or two of the data that's in there, and then have it write you the SQL query. And then when you get all of that information, you can use dashboard reporting tools like Tableau or Google Data Studio, now called Looker Studio. Then you also have a couple of other options to you available as well. All right, so that being said, this takes up, unfortunately and sadly, 25% of the screen's real estate, and it's unusable. So that's why I'm a little frustrated. I wish there was a way to turn off these features that aren't available. It's okay to see them as they come up, but then they should die, I don't know, in a couple of days, a weeks, or in the settings area, give you opportunities to get rid of it, but that's not the case. As new and more features come online, I'm getting the inclination that they're sprinkling more and more paid features into it, so it's going to get to the point where н8н is going to become, by and large, very limited as it relates to the full feature set, for obvious reasons. They're a commercial company building commercial software. They gave a lot away for free to get the uptake, which is understandable, but nonetheless, for those in the community still using it, remember us and give us the ability to turn some of this stuff off so that we can use it. That would be quite helpful. All right, the other thing I wanted to walk you through is the versioning. So if you click on this versioning, again, I'm in settings. There's a couple of different ways to get to this. So you can go into settings. You can also go to help and about н8н, and it'll give you this information here. So a couple different ways to get to the same dialog. the other thing that you want to do is you want to click on the source code, and this will take you into GitHub. Now I know for some of you GitHub's a little scary because it's geeky, it's codey, it's pro code, but nonetheless what I want to show you is just regular English or plain English that you can read through. Here are the releases that you can see through here, and then inside of the releases, if you click into the release, it will show you what bug fixes are done and what features are coming out, or what features have come out rather. And this is in scope to this particular release. Now, I could do a video for each and every release and put it on my YouTube channel, but I'll be honest with you, they come out with so many releases so quick, so fast, it's just not going to be feasible for me to keep up with that level of volume, especially with all the other commitments that I have going on. So I thought the next best thing was to at least, instead of feeding you a fish, showing you how to fish so you can self-serve for yourself. So again, the bug fixes, if you're looking for something specific, you can find it here. This is a little esoteric, and I do get that, but here are just, a lot of this is plain English, and some of these actually do give you little video snippets so you can follow along or understand what it is, and it reads like a story, or it's supposed to read like a story, and for the most part they do. So if you look at community nodes in the node panel, and then you click into it, and then when it loads up, it gives you a summary, and they do a really good job of putting screenshots to explain the use cases. In some cases, you'll see different links in here that have to do with the feature, so just click into it. Some of them actually have videos. Let's see here, something about sub workflow. Where's the sub archive? Oh yeah, this is a huge one. Let me show you this one. So if we click into this one, what I've done now is you can no longer just delete a workflow. The workflow itself is thrown into an archive, and so you can't just delete. So what this means in more plain English, let's just create a workflow from scratch. We'll call this delete me, right? And we'll put a trigger here. Come on. Yep. Okay, so we'll save this, and then we'll come back out to overview. So now we have this here. It says test the power of н8н with this simple AI workflow, and so this is another new feature that they've added, and so they've already popped into the template for you, so you'll start to see a little bit more of this, and contextually, I believe they're running some AI workflows themselves behind the scene to help suggest different things. Anyway, I digressed. Let me leave this here. So if I go to delete, normally you just come here and you hit delete. Well, now you can only choose archive, and when you archive it, now all of a sudden you don't have your archive. Now, this is a problem in this particular use case, and I don't think they tested this use case. Like most of us, we have lots and lots of workflows. There's no way to get to the archive workflow until you create another workflow, because the ability to delete an archive workflow or to unarchive a workflow means that you have to go into this. Now, why is this important? Because some of their paid plans only limit you to 5 workflows, like the entry-level version that they offer for like $20 per user per month. It only gives that user 5 workflows to do. So in some cases, at that point, somebody might only just get n8n to run one workflow because it's low volume, they have a specific need, and this is a bad design. So I do figure that they're going to change this, or need to change this relatively soon within the next release. So I'm just going to go ahead and now unfortunately save off this workflow, all just for the purposes so I can get to this filter button, because now with the filter button I can now get into the show archive workflow item, and now magically all of a sudden I can get to the delete me, and now with the delete me I can either unarchive or delete the workflow. But again, if I only had one workflow to begin with, now I'm completely shut out or locked out, and I'm forced to create another workflow just to get to the menu option to delete the workflow. So this is kind of a little bit of what I used to call in the class a PITA. So I'll let you look that one up, PITA. So we'll leave it there. The other thing here is there's a bunch of other features. Here, let me go ahead and satisfy my OCD and get rid of all of this. Yes, delete. And now I'm always going to have this problem, so I'm going to have to archive again. At least I'm in the menu, so I'm good. And that's the other caveat use case. All right, so now that I've got nothing here, I can reset my filters and I'm good to go. Okay, so with that being said, let's go and look at some of these other features that are in here that are really big. Let's see, this one's really good. It's allow jumping into sub workflows, and I'm not gonna go through each and every one of these. This will be the last one. But I just wanted to show you that here is a good example. They have a demo, and if you see anything with a clean shot or screenshot or something like that, you should just click into it. And then what'll happen is you'll get like a little video, and they'll show you what to do in a more visual way. Kind of the whole reason you're watching a course on here on н8н on Udemy is to kind of see visually how to do whatever it is you're trying to do. And so it's talking about the command sequence and what to do there. So this is how you can self-serve by clicking in through the various community nodes, going through GitHub, going through the line items. And so when you see new features and you want to understand how to use it, by clicking into it, reading, looking at the screenshots and or the videos if they're available, it'll get you really closely more aligned with what is going on with your finger on the pulse as far as what's happening in н8н. All right, so that is it for this video. Happy н8ning, and hopefully you'll get lots of great use out of all of the new features. I do believe they're running out of numbers here, and we'll probably hit a release 2.0, and my gut tells me, based on the way everything's going, it's going to be a radical change, hopefully for the better, and they'll keep a lot of stuff out in the community and keep the community strong and going. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, quick video here to talk about something new that's recently broke out on the scenes. This is a new piece of software that has a н8н component built into this. Now, I don't think that this would be something that you would use in an enterprise, but I do see some maybe small to medium-sized businesses. If you're at home running a business, maybe if you're have a YouTube channel, AI consultancy, or maybe you're even just an independent sales agent for health insurance or car insurance like Allstate or State Farm or something like that. In any event, this is a piece of software that gets installed on your machine. It's a little bit complicated to install because it has a lot of dependencies on some third-party componentry, although it does install some of it yourself. But the reason I'm including it is because there actually is a nested version of н8н in here, and they don't really do a good job of showing it here on the desktop. So let's see if I can go into this. I'm trying to get a better screenshot for you guys. Basically, it's this remote support component. That actually is н8н. It's built in. It runs it in a Docker container. And basically, what you can do with this is you can chat with it like a regular chat bot. You can talk with your documents. You can upload. So there's like RAG that's built into it. There is this Comfy UI integration. It's a whole separate thing. It's very complicated if you're a newbie. But nonetheless, it's not too bad to install. If you're interested in installing the Comfy UI, you have to go to the Comfy UI website, download it. They have it available for Windows. I know Mac. I don't know about Linux. But in any event, one of the items down here, let me try to get, yeah, here it is over here. So that's the agent. This is the image, and there's another item down here. They're missing an icon from the screenshot. It looks like a little workflow icon. Anyway, if you click on that, you actually get taken to an н8н instance. So if you are considering installing н8н on your local, and you want a single tool to give you a single pane of glass to do all of these really cool things, you might want to consider playing with or downloading Clara, which is available on Windows, Mac, as well as Linux, so you could get exactly everything that you're needing. Again, it's a more complicated install, so if you're an advanced user, I would suggest checking it out. If you are brand new to it, just follow along the rest of the instructions. As your skill and comfort level goes up, then maybe you want to circle back and check out Clara. And, you know, these things come and go just as quick as they come. I've seen them go. So maybe this is a fad for right now, but right now, as of the date of this recording, which is the end of May, almost June 2025, this thing is all the rage right now. So keep an eye on it, maybe of interest to you. That's it for this video. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.